No, it has nothing to do with AI stuff, and no, it has nothing to do with how terrible Spotify has recently been. It's something completely different. So, it's been a while since I made one of these videos, and I swear there's a pretty good reason why. But this video is not about the show or about the band or any such thing, although it ends up being related to the album and the band and everything. But in order for all of this to make sense, I should take you a little bit back. So this is a video in two parts. So I've been putting music on Spotify as well as all the other stores. My priority for this video is specifically Spotify for probably over, I want to say maybe almost a decade, maybe 10, 11 years. I think I don't have an exact memory of the first upload. I know what it was. I just don't remember the date. I mean, I can check. I can probably check my first upload if I go to my profile. So on this thing, the first release that I ever did was October the 13th, 2018, so 7 years ago. And I remember that day, and it does not make me feel any good because I'm dating myself right now. Not the point. In those days, number one, I was I was under contractual obligations with a completely different team, different management, and different, essentially, for lack of a better word, music label. And that meant that I did not have control over many things in my music and in my artistic creations. And as time moved on, so did I, and so did we. And so I moved away from that system into a 100% independent work, which is cool, which is really scary, but still cool. At those days, in those ages, the general consensus was that I'm gonna give you the business terms for it, then we can work through it with simple English. The system, the paradigm was accuracy over volume, or essentially release as many songs as you can and hope that one of those pieces lands on a Spotify playlist or a curator playlist. That was the hot item at the day, hoping, because Spotify was designed to fly directly against the system, the music label, and the music industry. And because for music industry, in order to be anything, anywhere, you needed the right people behind you, and you needed to be chosen by those music labels. Spotify was like, nope, we are doing it a different way. We'll help you put your music out for relatively inexpensive prices, and we got your back. And the irony is as thick as you can imagine, because a decade later, now you have to hope that Spotify picks you and puts you on a playlist. So from music labels, from the big funnel of music labels, now there's a larger funnel of Spotify in it, and so it's a big mess. It's a huge apocalypse of disorder and chaos and entropy. But that was the paradigm those days, and so I put a lot of music on Spotify, on my Spotify. I don't have the exact number with me right now, but there were a number of single songs, like single releases, a couple of EPs, and a few albums other than my French albums. Because as I told you about the contract and everything, a part of that contract was actually verbal and wasn't written on paper, which in retrospect is a huge amateurish move from my side. But again, a story for another time. And I had some songs, many songs in fact, on my Spotify page that I did not want anymore there. But I had to put them because, again, that was like the game. It was about put as many things as you want, throw a bunch of things at the wall and say which one sticks. That was the system. And I worked as a composer for a theater work. I worked as a soundtrack writer for a musical book thing. The theater piece was called Fetus. The poetry book was called The Silence of the Poet. And there was an instrumental album for a video game that we worked on with a couple of my friends, and I put them also on Spotify in order to have that accuracy over volume mentality respected. And as I moved with my other releases, I realized that those songs, the instrumentals and the random 40-second like soundscapes, were taking over the music, like the songs I was making. And not to discredit any of those other pieces, but I prefer to be known as a songwriter in the world of music rather than a composer. You see what I mean? I wanted the songs with vocals and with like larger melodies and harmonies and I guess grooves to be there. But if you listened to my Spotify like page, and if you put it on random, rarely would you ever land on a song or two with vocals in them. They were mostly the instrumentals from the projects that I had done before. And that kind of created a huge problem, which leads us to today. Which brings me to my second point these days, today, and as we're approaching a very, very important date in my musical career, there were a few things I needed to settle. I needed to make sure that are done as professionally as I could, since as of a couple of years ago, I officially and like completely 1000% do not work with and alongside or under the license or any sort of a music label or a publishing company or a production company. I'm fully independent. I needed to make sure that I right the wrongs that were there on my musical profiles all around the world before the release of the new album. Now, I'm a few days, well, a couple of weeks away from officially releasing the fourth album, and in order to get here, there were certain things I needed to make sure are well within the range of what they should be. By the way, you see that structure behind me? Apparently, that is one of the structures that Napoleon built for, I want to say, one of his wives. My history is not my strong suit, but yeah, this place, this whole park, this whole garden apparently was built for her. Now the paradigm when it comes to independent music release and essentially anything that has anything to do with music in the modern world has completely changed. Now the paradigm is about, and I'm trying to be like respectful to everybody in this industry, but it really is all about how you are presenting yourself. Are you viral or not? Is your music capable of having a 10-second clip that you could create TikToks with? Does it have hype? Does it have the hook for the ever increasingly lower and lower attention spans? Like the concept of artistry and craftsmanship and making music for the sake of making music is completely gone. And so even though I don't believe I'm going to get into the system by making music that is pleasing to the audience instead of just doing music that I like to do, I don't think I'm going to ever change in this system. However, the fodder, I don't want to be disrespectful to the music I made for different projects under any guise or under any like circumstance here. Those songs don't thematically and musically match with what I'm doing right now in my songwriting adventure, in my like the songwriting process. And so I had to remove all of the instrumentals, all of the soundtrack albums, all of the theater pieces in favor of keeping the music that is song, lyrics, vocals, all of them, all in one place. And this is essentially why I am trying my absolute best to make this show and the release of this album as whatever the word standard means these days as possible. Because this has been a project in the making for a very, very long time. If you've followed any of my videos on YouTube, you probably know that working on this album has been nothing short of traumatizing for me in all the worst possible ways. It led to severe periods of a very, very dark and sedentary lifestyle, depression, and a lot more that I will talk about maybe one day and in its due time. For me, the important thing is that I document these for my future self and for somebody who is going through the same things as I am, as my band is, because releasing an album, recording, producing, mixing, creating all the assets, all the artwork, organizing the lights for the show, organizing the sound, the set list, dealing with like the problems that are inherent with working in a band, etc., etc. These things are very costly and not always solved through money. There are some things in life, and I'm saying this now as a person who has recently learned this, but there are certain things in life that you can't just solve by throwing heaps and heaps of money at. You actually need to, sometimes conflict is necessary for growth. And I'm gonna leave this one at that. So the final word here is that this is a weird camera angle, right? Anyway, the greatest thing about working as an independent musician and artist is you are responsible for everything. You don't answer to anyone. You are the sole decision maker, good or bad. The worst thing about being an independent musician is that you answer to no one and you are alone, always. That means possibly if and when you make a mistake, you're gonna be the only person to face the music yourself. You're gonna have to answer. You're going to have to understand the consequences. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I know it's been a while since I posted one of these. I've been very busy, and all of them are good stuff. It's just that I need to find time to think and organize my thoughts. Have a great day, everybody. You see this blue sky above me? These are the last days. I think the next video you'll see is going to probably be in a thunderstorm for the next 6 months. Have a good one. Stay safe, stay sane, wherever you are, whenever you are, and peace. Let's go.